This is a video on script variable projects, Unit 2, Lab 2, page 2. So for question 1 and 2, the art projects, C found it better than I could. So I'm just going to show you. I already put the link on the Exam Plus page on the class website. And if you go to that link, you see what he did with excuse me, with both number 1 and number 2. And then I'm going to show you the frequency, the letter frequency that he started on but did not finish for some reason, because he did most of the hard part, but we're going to finish it. So what it is called linguistic research. We have to take text as input and say whether T or S appears more often in that text. So this is really useful in where, when we try to decrypt messages or break encryption. One way is for simple encryption where you shift letters, let's say, like with the encode decode, the frequency of certain letters appear more often, like the letter S or T, and that's how you know which letter corresponds to which without knowing the code. So let's look at CFON's code. We have a block that takes a letter and a word. So we have a variable that A is not a good description of what the meaning of this is actually a count. So we're counting, and that's why we set count to 0. So we're counting the number of times that letter appears in the word. And we are repeating until the word becomes empty. So obviously what he's going to do is cut the word down letter by letter. And he's going to check the letter against the last letter of the word. So let's say the word is ABBA. You check the last letter and you're looking for the letter A, let's say. So the last letter is A, so yes. Then we change the count by 1. So we are counting up each time. Remember, change is adding. So we're adding 1 to the count each time we see the letter as the last letter. Then we set the word to all but the last letter. So since we are compared to the last letter, we drop it. And that's why word eventually becomes empty. It becomes a length 0 string. And so at that point, this repeat until we stop, and we'll report count as the answer. And so let's say we check for R in the word rebate. R appears once, S appears 0 times, and T appears 1 time. So we can use build a block that compares S and T and say which one is more. Before we do that, I want to show you a different way of doing this frequency project. So we will still keep the count and we'll set count to 0. But then I'm going to use a for loop, because the for loop very nicely will give us each letter of the word. So let's go to control. For I equals 1 to the length of the word. By the way, if you haven't seen the video for number 3, you should do that first, because we did a lot of work with letter and word manipulation. So watch the video if you haven't done it before coming back to this one. Okay, so what we want to do is basically take a word and if we're looking for the letter A, we basically have to compare each letter to see if that letter is A. And two of them is A, and so we return 2, or ignoring cases. So if the letter if the letter we're looking for is the same as letter I of the word, then we have to increase the count. You can either change count by 1 or set count to count plus 1. It's very common to change I, but you have to remember which variable is holding the count of the times that the letter appears. At the end, once you've done all of that, count is going to hold the number of times the letter appeared. And so let's test that now. Okay, so we have a frequency reporter block. Now we just need to do one that compares S and T. So S or T more often in a sentence. Okay, so basically we have to get the count of S and count of T. So let's make more variables. Variables are like free in today's computers. So count of S, and we have a count of T. Whichever is bigger, we're going to say that's the bigger one. So guess this should actually it says, so it should actually be a command block, not a reporter block. Hate this. So make a command block S or T more often. Sentence. Oops, I lost all that. Okay. Let's set variables. So if count of S is more, then we would say S appears more often than T. Control Alt, Control C, or no, I have to do that. Otherwise, we're going to say T. You might have noticed that there's actually a problem with the script. So a couple of things. It's not really doing much. And part of the problem is saying t is appear bigger, more. I didn't actually get the number time s appears or t appears. So let's do that. Say count of s2, the frequency that s appears in the sentence. And then we're going to set count of t to the number of times that t appears. But this is still not going to work. It still says t appears more often than s. Notice I chose one where they appear the same number of times. You have to always test for boundary conditions. So it could be greater than, it could be less than, or it could be equal to. If it's equal to, I should say they happen the same often. So where do I test that? Well, I know it cannot be here, because if s is greater than, that's only if s is greater than t, we'll say s is greater than t. So if it's not, we still don't know if s is equal to t. So I need a second check. If it's equal to, then I should say s and t appears the same number of times. And grammatically, it should be appear the same number of times. Okay. Whereas if I have staples, s appears more often than t. Let me have table, t appears more often than s. Okay, so that's how to do this this block. And I will encourage you to look at, again, Stefan's solution for the first two. It's pretty impressive. And that's it.